a butter bar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran and their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What's up, Gruntworks Nation? We are live for your TOC Monkey. What is Chief watching tonight? We have another guest host, which I'm super proud, and we'll do a quick promo here. We got Mark Kershaw, all right, a late addition to the 82nd Airborne. He was raised wrong from his parents, from the upbringing, and finally made his way over to where real men work. But he is here now. He is the producer of Tribal.
Yep.
All right, and he is also producing Break
in Case of War.
In Case of War.
Yep.
Which I was fortunate enough to be interviewed on, and he is here just to help promote that, but not to take away from the thunder of that is Chief Tanner Port, the TOC Monkey himself. So before you even get into anything, make sure you go to TOCMONKEY.com and follow along. All right, that is the website he created. Go watch it. It is probably one of the most phenomenal things I've seen built. And we tackle a lot of things, and then we get to put the I told you so hat on, all right, after a week of watching. And I think Tanner gets to put the I told you so hat on this week. I got to put it on last week, but you said something about the Red Sea. You said something about the UAE last week. And I don't know if any of the mainstream media caught on to that, but they started talking about it a little bit. So the floor is yours, Tanner.
Yeah, a little bit. What we saw, Iran doing Iran things again. Don't take anything we hear say as we are pro. We really just like the commentary on like the strategic interest of countries and just try to lay it out for y'all. But what we saw happen this week, right, is essentially Iran pushed and signaled that it was going to, tell the Houthis, which are in Yemen, to essentially blockade the Red Sea Strait that's there. They call it the Bob. I'm not going to even butcher the name for you. But we talked in depth last week about how Saudi Arabia was pushing most of their oil, about 7 million barrels per day, through their pipeline and then exiting it out of the Red Sea. And so this is just an indicator of that. And then simultaneously they hit Kuwait, who we identified last week as the most susceptible. They also hit Bahrain. And so this is all about pressure to essentially isolate and break up kind of like into individual actors, the Middle East. And you'll continue to see that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Because and we'll talk about this asshole later, but our Access Idiot War Criminal of the Week is a used car salesman over there in northwest Syria. Not a good dude. And essentially how he kind of plays into this overarching thing that's happening. So, but I do just want to kind of bullshit what I've had a good week. I don't know if you've had a good week, Nick. I spent most of my week
had a phenomenal week.
Yeah, dude, this week was awesome. We've had some really good advocacy work with the VFW. We had our legislative day up in Raleigh. Got to meet with a lot of great senators. Got a lot of headway. If y'all have heard me complain about Veterans Guardian and these lieutenant colonels we're dealing with in Southern Pines, y'all's days are numbered, and I know you're watching. So hi. And yeah, had a great
never mess with the enlisted or the warrant officers. Never do it. Never do it.
You can't buy your way out of just, getting smoked, and that's what's about to happen.
And they're not willing to go to the trenches like we are.
No,
we're not willing to do it.
And then also, pro tip: don't steal a 3 stars tea time. Like, I don't care how much money you got. Them boys start talking when you start taking their tea times. So keep that on note. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. For the crowd this week, we are changing it up, right? We're a learning organization for you buzzword folks out there. So what I'm going to attempt to do, and I'm probably going to fail, but I'm going to try, is in 60 seconds, if you go to TOCMONKEY.com, we have split it up by what we call combatant commands. For those that are civilians, right? Like essentially the Department of War, Department of Defense, depending on what side of the aisle you fall and you care about those things. We split the world up in what we call combatant commands. So there's EUCOM, right? So Europe, CENTCOM, Indo-PACOM, so China, Australia, that area. AFRICOM, you should be able to figure that one out. SOUTHCOM, which is Mexico and below. And then NORTHCOM, right? And so that's the way we frame problems. That's the way I receive information, because I was indoctrinated for better or worse. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just roll through the major news stories. Now, all these stories are pulled off of TOCMONKEY.com, right? And so I'm going to try really quickly just to hit the high notes for each COCOM to try to give you all a really quick snapshot of what's going on in the world. And then we'll go on for there. But again, Nick has been encouraging me to be more news stationy. I did not enter this to be a talking head in any way, shape, or form. However, I do understand it. There's a market, and he knows that market better than me because, as he'll tell you, he is vastly more successful than I am in life. So it's true. I live in the nicest double wide east of the Mississippi, and he's a Ranger tab dude that lives in a mansion. So we'll just go for that. Right. All right. So without further ado, Nick, I'm gonna try. Right, and we'll see how we go.
Are we not sharing your thing? Because I'm not seeing it up there. Are we skipping that?
I'm just gonna read this. This is just
straight. All right, before you read it, he said TOCMONKEY.com. It's in the chat. Click on it, follow it. Okay, click on it and follow it. All right, go ahead.
All right, so for those who care, for AFRICOM, right, we talked about them last week. Sudan, there was a lot of drone activity, right? So we saw the RSF, who was our asshole of the week last week, right? They launched a couple drones, and they were carrying 8 missiles and struck over the White Nile region, right? So essentially, again, Iranian or UAE proxy putting pressure on Saudi Arabia there. Sudan, big picture is that the UN says the drone strikes on both sides killed over 880 civilians between January and April, and that the war is defining a new phase. So this is what we're seeing overall worldwide, is that drones are kind of the new thing, and you can minimize your casualties. Also interesting is we saw uptick in activity in Somalia, and that Russia's Africa Corps have been active there, right? And so we've got, Russia's got 3,500 of their Africa Corps inside that area, into the CENTCOM area, which is just right across the river. Again, I don't draw the lines, I just follow them. Obviously, the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire kind of fell apart within hours, but if you ask our boy DJT, it means moderate level of fire over there, right? So they're always going to
defensive fires.
Yeah, just hey, it wasn't that big of a deal type of thing, right? And they obviously shot at our guys. They continue to harass our boats, right? And then who we got? There's no Iran is basically playing us, if you want my personal commentary, but all the news stories fed into that, right? Like they're just buying for time because they see the midterms. The House passed the War Resolution Act, which will signal to Iran that they were correct in their strategic assessment, and they'll continue to try to run out the clock as they put pressure on the regional allies. In EUCOM, huge news, right? So Russia sends its largest, I mean, it feels like they break a record every month, but they send a significant amount of drones and ballistic missiles out to Kiev, killed quite a few people. I can't read that number quite enough, but I think it was 24. I think we have like 24 killed. I could be wrong. Y'all can correct me in the comments, right? But you say what you want about Zelensky, pretty damn good troll. Russia has the St. Petersburg Conference, which is their largest economic conference. This dude, daytime attack, strikes an oil field inside, or an oil refinery inside of St. Petersburg at the time the conference was opening, right? Just to be like, hey, boss, I can reach out and touch you. That sent ramifications in attendance at that, because, Russia's, some people, viewers, especially on Twitter, seem to be not thinking that Russia's, huge assholes. The Taliban was there. Iran sent a representative. Basically, it was like the
whole axis of idiots was there.
Yeah, the axis of idiots was in attendance, right? And then only move on. Indo-PACOM, China still drilling, right? They're still doing their first line of defense, and then signaled some interesting thoughts about Taiwan. And then their Coast Guard aggressively patrolling the waters east of Taiwan after Japan and the Philippines announced maritime boundary talks, right? So again, you'll see this worldwide rise of the oligarchs tit for tats. And SOCOM, interestingly enough, Venezuela, we're taking their oil thing, not going the best we thought, but they are kind of getting in line and at least saying the right things. Mexico, Narco Terror, we have a very interesting development, right? For the JSOC boys out there, they're staying a little busy down there, right? And so we're starting to see some more task forces. By the way, the Department of War loves some task forces lately. I don't know. We got a task force for everything. Shout out to Hots and Cots, because there's a task force for that. He just had a big legislative win. But essentially we had a counter, for those that aren't initiated, there was a counter UAS permission given to the border troops that will sunset on December 31st. And so expect that we keep with this, kind of political grindhouse we're in. If that falls off and it's not in the NDA, which is being marked up today in Washington, D.C. in one of those marathon things, it's very important that we give, however you feel about border security, it is critical that our border forces have counter UAS capabilities. And that's really a FAA thing. There's a lot going on there. We'll unpack it in a future episode, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, some of the surveillance techniques that we use in the Patriot Act and some things like that. However, it's a real thing that we have to start getting some standoff on the border. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Like, you just got to get realistic about that. Northcom, really good moment. I know that a lot of y'all guys out there thought that we were just going to steal Greenland. I'm glad we didn't. We shouldn't be treating our allies like that. However, there is a really good exercise. What are they calling it? Nordic Bridge that's happening, which we're starting to see more cooperation. I mean, there was always cooperation. We just finally started actually participating. And so we're starting to see an influx of our presence in the Arctic, right, to counter Russia. And then we kind of pressured, and I'm putting pressured in quotes, right, Denmark for a more permanent maritime. I think that was domestic signaling of us. Like, that plays well with the American audience. Denmark's going to give us whatever we want in Greenland. That's fine. And now, more importantly, to all my sports people, obviously, and me and Nick were talking about this for the show, I don't expect a lot of North Carolina viewers tonight because the Hurricanes are playing. Obviously, we're down 1-0. I think the puck dropped 15 minutes ago, so hopefully you can get your real-time updates on TOC MONKEY and the Stanley Cup.
TOC MONKEY's got the scroll.
Yep. And then we got what about NBA Finals, man? Spurs doing some things. The Knicks obviously stole it. It might be their year. We'll see. I don't care about tennis. I'm not talking to you about that. The World Cup, we're like a week away. That's going to be fun.
Hey, I love. Hey, I'll stop you on the World Cup. I love the World Cup because America doesn't care about soccer. Whenever we make the World Cup, we now care about soccer.
Mhm.
So, and that's what I love about this country is that if you're a winner,
Yeah,
we get behind you. We get behind you. And,
Yeah.
and I don't care if you're a speed skater. I don't care if you're a pole vaulter. If all of a sudden it comes on the news that you're an American and you're in something against the rest of the world, all of a sudden middle class white people are like, we're watching. We're in it. So I'm hoping. I know Face Man's watching. He's from Germany. He calls it football, right? Like I'm hoping that we make it past the group stage because otherwise you lose
Well,
30
Iran's going
million
to be here.
viewers.
So Iran's coming.
They're playing in Mexico though.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see how that shakes out. And then real quick, just because we're getting in the heat of baseball season, y'all, and me and Nick are both baseball fans. Let me run down your division leaders right now in the NL East. The Atlanta Braves, best record in baseball right now for all you SEC nerds. I know I just mixed them, but if you find a Braves fan, they're a Georgia fan. NL West, we got the Dodgers, which is okay. Got it. Right. My Astros, Astros are not doing great right now. However, we had a monumental win last night when everybody was counting them out. We came back. The Brewers, look at y'all in the Central, the National League Central. The Brewers leading with a record of 37-22. Tampa Bay Rays, always tough. Cleveland Guardians actually staying alive again for a change. And then the Mariners, who were always kind of one of the nemesises of the Astros. And those are your headlines, y'all, for this week.
Yeah, you didn't get that in 60 seconds.
Not even close.
Not even close. That was like 4.5 minutes. But I love you for it, and
I will cut it up. I will cut it up to
like
60 seconds for the commercial.
We like it. Yeah. And I just wanted to bring up there was a series between the Brewers and Astros. I forget who won that series. I don't forget. I know who won it. The Brewers did. All the Brewers just dropped their 2 in a row to the Giants, which they suck. So it is what it is. I do want to cover something you said about with the JSOC and down south.
Yeah,
we do need to plan a show for what's going on with the Sinaloa cartel and what are those rumors and what are we, as in the peripheral we of the United States, like we got our hooks in there somewhere. They're in there somewhere. Like,
we had those 2 CIA guys, State Department, right, get swagged. And it's just
also rumors we got an old unit guy running the Sinaloa cartel.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, the Zetas, right? Like the Zetas were absolutely. I remember distinctly when the Zetas were putting up billboards on the other side of the border trying to recruit active duty service members, right? So they ended up what they used to call it the School of the Americas, right, down there at Fort Benning, Georgia, home in the infantry, right? I mean, it sucks, but it's part of the game we play, right? And these, for all my violence of action fans, right? You got to train people how to dominate in their area, and there's no country in the world that's better at that than us. And so, like Fort Benning is the Harvard of the infantry, right? If you want to put it like that. And
damn straight.
So, the rest of the world comes. So we've trained a lot of these guys, especially their senior leaders. They absolutely have attended Western military schools at one point, whether they were in the Mexican defense apparatus at some point or not. What I've had to try to explain to people, especially with the cartels, and you can see this on TOC MONKEY. Actually, if you want to share screen now, we can go that direction with it, dude. I'm with you. This will be
great. You have it. You have it up.
Go to Northcom.
I don't see it yet.
Let me see. Do I got to do it? Boom. Oh
yeah. You got to. Yep.
Sorry, y'all.
No, those of you watching again, this is a TOC MONKEY. We're covering everything from sports to cartels to the Butcher of Jafar. Like we got everything. We're going to talk about some cool stuff today. And before you get all, Facebooky and ChatGPT, those are new words I just made up, no big deal. We got Tanner, the PhD candidate, is going to square you away. So let's share the Talk Monkey right now. We got it up here. Boom.
All right. So if we go to
Is it on the
NORAD,
screen? There it is. Boom.
yeah, there you go. So this is, and guys, again, this is growing and I'm working on it, right? But we'll go seeing, yeah, these guys right here. If you can see this well enough. But what we have inside the task org, right? Because this is an asymmetric world we live in, right? So if you go to Talk Monkey and then you go to Northcom, which is on the far right tab on that third row, and then again, I've talked to y'all about this before. If you go over to the task organization for y'all guys that kind of like to frame problems like I do, it'll give you all the players, right? And it's not just the Mexican army, right? Like I am constantly trying to update. And you'll hear this from me a lot. Like we're in this rise of the oligarch kind of. I mean, I feel like it's always been that way, but for a while there after post World War II, we had a breather from this. But right now we are in the throes of that, right? Like, and the West is not immune to that. And what we're seeing specifically from the cartels, right, is that these for my GWAT bros, dude, this is like up armored PMF. Like this is not. You watch Sicario and you see those assholes at the border get shot up in the car. That's like the 0.001% of what these guys are. These guys are armed. They're in armored vehicles. They're rolling deep, right? They got like this is not your, they're no pushovers, right? Like I mean, look, they just swacked 2 CIA people right real quick. They will reach out and touch you, which I think is important for the overall posture that we have on the border. And I, by no means am I talking about shutting the border down. It's not that's like amateur hour, right? Like this takes a defensive posture to be able to prevent drones or whatever else, right? They just found that tunnel in San Diego that was pretty crazy that came all the way across. But if you go over there to Southcom, go to the task organization, I have the major cartels that are at play. And then kind of some analysis really quick about what they're doing, but definitely the leaders and then what kind of equipment. Let me see if I can go here. And we have our U.S. presidents. That was a CJNG, if you're following me. Sonoma cartel, who he was just talking about. Interesting in here, I also talk about their distribution network. So a lot of people just think it's, across the border. That's kind of a novice or novus way to look at things, right? Like Chicago's a huge hub, Los Angeles obviously a big hub, and then Atlanta, right? Because Atlanta gets you to where then you can get to the 95 corridor. We saw a lot of it.
Huge drug corridor.
Yeah, which shout out to the Hells Angels who peddle a lot of this stuff around our area from these guys. I might catch hell for that down in Fayetteville. Anyway,
Yeah, who's your boy? Who's your boy that owned? Was it the Ugly Stick or what was his name? Larry. Like, yeah, you're gonna be talking to Larry here soon. I don't know.
Yeah, brother, hit me up. Hey, man, my old lady got me. It's okay. All right, so, but I mean, what I hope that y'all see from this, right? When you see these business kind of networks, right, and then the level of sophistication is probably the word that I would use of how these guys move, right? And it's not. I think a lot of people that aren't engaged don't understand how much money's at play. Like you might cursory get that, but then how much money they put behind defending it, right? Like they're not gonna don't get it twisted. Like, could we go roll
It's not taxpayer money. It's not they're not accountable for it. So if they want to drop an extra $300 million on something, there isn't no vote.
Yeah, it's unilateral, right?
Yeah.
And while we did like the Venezuela op and then the strikes inside of on the Pacific coast and then the stuff we were doing in the Caribbean, it's a cat and mouse game, but not to sound like it's pretty easy for us to sling hellfires at boats, right? Does that actually stop anything? No, it just rises the price and then these guys make more money. And then it's just, right? There's not a cartel leader hanging out on the boat that gets swagged, just like it wasn't a terror cell leader laying an IED, on Route Tampa, right? So understand that there's always going to be a reaction. And so, whereas I'm excited that, you'll hear it from me first. Nothing we did in the Caribbean was a war crime. If that makes you sad, I am available at any time to walk you through what a kill chain looks like, and what ROE it was done under. And if you don't think that the cartels are terrorist organizations, go try to walk outside.
Message me too, because I have some videos that I probably shouldn't have of when we first did the border mission with 18th Airborne Corps during COVID, and watching what these terrorists do to those caravans.
Yeah,
like you think we treat people who come over the border bad? You should see what if you go and mess with a border location where their drug and their human trafficking flows through. If you go and mess with that with a caravan, they will make sure that whole caravan doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And you know what that means? Yeah. They just kill them all.
Yeah. And then we'll find a mass grave in like 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's just right across. I mean, I've been to Mexico a couple different times. I went back in the early 2000s when, you could drive there. I wouldn't do that now. And like, I remember I spent like a week in Monterrey, and it was beautiful. And like, it's an amazing city. And I think the World Cup's going to be there. And they're not stupid, right? We have like worldwide, you're going to catch this trend that these guys they're businessmen. They have no moral compass. Right. But if it affects the bottom line, they absolutely. So like, do I expect that there's going to be cartel attacks at the World Cup events? No. Right now, caveat,
they're making too much money off of it.
They're making too much money. However, they have gotten in with some groups that absolutely will like use that to their leverage, like Iranian proxies and what's going on in Syria and some of the wild things. And that is the easiest way to our country. Would I be surprised if a group that was not able to get across the border, or one of these cells that they have, decided to, do something wild down at the World Cup? No. Right. It should not be shocking news. Yeah. Because KH or some of these other if they can't get to us, right, which they would love to, there's nothing more they would love to do than to strike like a World Cup match or something like that, the parking lot, or like a soft target. Absolutely, they'll take the chance where they can get it. Same thing for Canada, right? These are, they're not.
Canada's got to be careful.
Yeah, because it affects. I mean, the game that Iran's playing is counter. They're going to look at it as, okay, we've been doing all this and it's working for them. Like, they're buying the time they want, and they see that some people, I think, will make the mistake that all these actors that they're happy with riding out the clock. I think that's miscalculating, that they would love nothing more than to be able to embarrass us and drag our attention somewhere else, right? And then say, oh, we didn't, because that's what they've done historically, right? Like, it's not like Iran was, I mean, they are now, but like throughout, like, they would just send their proxies and kill our guys in Iraq, and then throw their hands up and say, hey, it wasn't us. Right. And then, so any chances they can get for soft targets, I absolutely expect them to take that opportunity, just given how decentralized they are right now. And it only takes a couple of them. Right. Again, it's the world's largest exporter in terrorism. They're pretty damn good at it. And so you should expect and train for them to follow up on those actions, man. And that's kind of, as far as the cartels go. Do I think they'd be happy about it? No, they're going to be really pissed off. However, the cell's going to be dead. They know that.
Murphy's Law. Yeah, that cell will be gone.
Like, bro, you lay in the bed you made, right? And like, you only wanted to move your cocaine and people, but now you're dealing with it when those people are, Islamic terrorists. It's hard to sympathize with you. So yeah, JSOC, the posture we have, it's extremely important that Congress works with the Department of War in redefining what, you heard all the cyber border, all this stuff, whatever that is. Like, a plan really actually needs to be put forth that gives us some depth and some standoff.
Well, let me ask you in the audience some questions about that, because I've been to a few of the soft caucuses in the last couple of years. So those of you watching don't understand that where you literally have, it was General Fenton and now it's Admiral. Now the Navy's running SOCOM. They have to go there and explain why SOCOM's budget is important. They have to go there and explain what they're doing without we love transparency. So my question is, again, I don't want to be a news reporter that gives you a statement before I ask the question. But yeah, like, is there a question in here? The question is what can SOCOM say, and what can they say out loud to justify what we're doing on the border, and what is their role in in security? Do they play a role in security?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question for the crowd. I'd respond. I'll hold my thoughts for a second.
Yeah, it'll take it 10 seconds to get there. And Isabel Schmidt's on there. Missed no connection from the soccer games or track game. She still
She's
killed
doing
it.
good mom stuff.
Yeah,
man.
she still killed it though. No, we'll get her back on. No, but that's the thing is, like, you want transparency, but do you really? Like, do you really want to know what we have to do? And is there a budget that should be allocated to that?
Yeah. No, man, I think
I'm curious to everything you said about like Iran and the cartels and everything like that. For someone that doesn't know much about geopolitical stuff, like I fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, but I don't follow this stuff. I try to like take it out of my life. One, for the everything you started at the beginning, is it worse than you've seen it before? Are we closer to World War III? And then also with the cartel, with everything going up, is this the most powerful the cartel has been? And why should we be so focused or worried about them? It's like the average American citizen that doesn't follow this stuff, right? Like, I'm curious, you put a lot of things going on in the world, but like, us as American citizens, why should we be worried about this? Like, if you were to like tell someone like, hey, you should be looking at this, like, and that's honestly the question for me.
Yeah, I think our and I think that's a big reason why Nick pushed me for this show, right? I think we have to do a better job of telling the Americans or the American population what the threat is, right? Like, I'm here to tell you, like I said, when I was in Taji and I was sitting at oh no, I was at Key West and PM when the first ballistic missile attack happened in 2019 after we killed Soleimani. Well, the ballistic missile attack happened in 20. But I mean, Camp Jaguar had a company worth of tanks there, right? They had every capability to make our lives like a living hell. I think we have done a I think when people see the cartels, we have a knee-jerk reaction, and it's not wrong, right, to think, okay, we are the number one demand, right? So there's this huge demand signal for these drugs, but it's not just drugs, right? The human trafficking that happens, there's a legit humanitarian
Weapons, human trafficking.
yeah, there's a legit humanitarian problem, right, with mass migration and global warming for the all this stuff factors in. Like, these people have they're just trying to make a better lives for themselves, and when you intermingle, right, so that those lanes open, right, and the cartels they're smugglers, right? When you get to the border, there's families there that have been there since any border. You could pick a border in the world, and there's 3 or 4 families that their entire business model is just moving something from point A to point B. They're agnostic to what that thing is, right? They're logistics, they're logisticians, if you will, right? They're going to get it across, and their whole market is that. So once you understand that, and to your first question, I do not think we're close to World War III.
Okay.
Just to be clear. However, what I will say is, because there's no benefit for any nation state. If it was powerful nation states, I would agree that we would have a problem. But every nation state right now is in a postured position to where it's like, okay, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to just. I mean, the only one's dumb enough to do it was Russia, right? Like, and look how that's working out for them, right? Like, and so there's way more bang for the buck for asymmetric tactics. And so I hate when we split the difference, because that's a big Western problem, is we look at war as this, hey, we're doing diplomacy. bullets start flying. Now we're in a war. And me and Nick talked about this in week 1. The majority of the world doesn't look at war that way, right? And we don't, you know, right now, this silly stuff we're doing with Iran, we're like, well, the war's over. Like, okay, tell them that, right? Because they didn't seem to get the message. Tell the cartel that the war, right? Like, because they know, every one of their leaders knows they're on a hit list. Like, if they get caught slipping, it's over. So they're always looking for an angle. They're always looking for power. They're always looking for more money. And so they make friends, right? When you're a cartel and you don't have counter intel capabilities, or you don't have SIGINT capabilities, or you don't have drone capabilities, right? There are entities out there that are proxies of some of our biggest adversaries in the world that will absolutely give you that stuff, right? Quid pro quo for, hey, but I need you to get these 2 assholes across. And then you find out, oh, those 2 assholes have the new Al Qaeda. Shout out to what's her name, Sarah, on Twitter.
Yeah,
right. They're gonna get this new sexy, you know, suicide vest that can't get picked up by TSA and stuff, right? They're good. Okay, man, I just need you to get this truck across, right? And in exchange for that, one, I'm going to give you, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. And then on top of that, I'm going to, you know, we'll take care of it for you. You don't even have to worry about it. And it's a business decision for those guys because there's no moral code there. And so that's a lot of people. I got to listen to the Western Hemisphere commanders speak a couple weeks ago, and people have been like, and again, the current administration couldn't be worse at messaging if they tried, right? Let's just start there. It's for whatever, but like they do not do a good job. However, what I will say is with the realignment to the Western Hemisphere, this guy was talking about this defense in depth from the Panama Canal all the way up. Right. And he's not talking about like, you know, armored, you know, like ABCTs or anything like that. He's talking about how do we defend our key terrain, right? I.e. the Panama Canal, right? Like in a holistic approach. So whether that's State Department, making sure that China can't buy it. And then, okay, what if they, you know, some third party security element thinks about, okay, we're going to do the security around, right? You have to really look at the contracts that you're signing around this stuff because people can grab things. We've shown that. Right?
Yeah, and that's what I try to tell people. And the point of the show too, with the TOC Monkey and what Tanner's doing when he started, and then you know, my old research back in the day, because I'm a grandpa, I'm 45. But if you look at things linear, you're dangerous. Like it's like, oh, we're supplying weapons to X. Okay. There's 18 other reasons why. And like we talked about last week, there's a Cold War going on between 2 countries. And America's kind of stuck in the
yeah, we walked right into it, man. We really did.
And it's not, and again, I wanted to give you the credit because you get to put the I told you so hat on because you talked about it before any of the mainstream media talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, and you brought this up. So again, if you're getting your news from the mainstream media, the suspect. And if you got one of those you know, those boomer dads like I have, all right, share this show with them. Share the TOC Monkey with them. Because you are going to get a holistic geopolitical view on what is happening. And again, we talk about factual things that happen and then our opinions on them. Does that make our opinions right? No. But we're talking about real things that happen and they're possible 15 reasons why. Right? So, and then there's some that are pretty freaking clear.
Yeah.
Like there's gold funneling through a country and it's funneling through a country for a reason.
Yeah.
And they also they're like all of a sudden they're just idiots. No, they're not idiots. They know exactly what they were doing. And Tanner brought up a good point with the cartels, which is what I always get into when I argue with Dave, who's in my house, the Face Man, who's on the comment chat. So make sure you follow Face Man. I get Face Man a lot of shit because he likes to be like this humanist thing, and I think humanism is the worst thing in America, in the world. Like to where you think the cartels are humanistic, like you think that like the people in charge are thinking like humanistic. No. They're thinking about this, homie.
Yeah.
They're thinking about this, and they will drop you.
Are they the strongest we've seen them? Like you were talking about, they have up armored and all this stuff, and it's not depicted in Sicario and stuff like that. Like if we sent a unit there, like how strong are they? Like how, like, would we wipe them off the planet if we wanted to?
Yeah, I think, yeah. The problem is they're not going to fight like that.
What do you mean?
That, like,
they'll do the Taliban.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, they would do what every other in the history of time, when you were facing something like the joint force, like I call the joint force a Lamborghini, right? Like, we can do, like, it's just high performance vehicle, but we keep giving the keys to people that can't drive a stick shift. And it's like, would we absolutely be able to strike? Sure, too easy. If they were dumb enough to converge, right, with their little like warlord cells, so think about them like gangs, but there's heavily armed gangs. If we could draw them into locations, sure. But now, and this is why I knew the Caribbean stuff would work early, right? Because, just like the Taliban learned to turn off its phones, right? Like, you do those strikes. I got in an argument with my sister, bless her heart, and she was very upset about the war criminal stuff. And I was like, like, the reason we're doing these strikes is because it lights the network up, right? And then SIGINT,
you got TDS, bro.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like it was a tit for tat to be able to identify the network and then actually give JSOC some actionable intelligence to go do what they needed to do. You fast forward, we would see that phase, but just like when we were killing ISIS, right? After a year, the dumb ones are dead, right? And the rest of them are going to embed themselves into the local population. You're not going to be able to stop them from extorting money from the local population. They will still have their power base. By the way, America still is going to buy drugs, and they're going to find ways to get it across. And so conventionally, there is not a force that has ever lived on this earth that could mess with the joint force. Like, we could decimate anybody. The problem is that we know that, and so therefore we forget to think. This is my biggest problem with the POTUS's logic here. Is like, well, their navy's at the bottom of the sea. I was like, well, fine, man, the strait's still closed. Right. Right. Like, cool. You sunk all their ships. Guess what they're still doing? They're still launching missiles. They're still taking stuff. It doesn't matter if
you think an oil company is going to send a tanker through there on the hopes of it getting through? Like,
they're going to pay those guys.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that they switched now it's an environmental tax or whatever the hell they're spending now, and they're going to pay it. Like, the world's going to pay it because they're like, all right, man, cool. I don't need all this like, I just need to get my stuff out so we can make some money. The insurance costs are too crazy. So they're going to pay that tax. So we'll be able to run the victory lap of like, oh, the strait's open. And to anybody that thinks Iran's stupid, yes, it started out as a toll. Look where they're at. Look what they're calling it now, right? It's now an environmental tax, and they're basically going to be boat pilots now. Like, they will be able to harass the insurance companies to the point that whatever they need, whatever verbiage finally lands that Trump will agree to, he will sign it. Because unless you're going to put 100,000 soldiers and own 30K of the Iranian coastline across the strait, you're not going to stop them. Like, if we could do it with air power, Taliban would not be sitting in Kabul right now, right? And so that's kind of, oh snap! Look, she's getting
after it. Hey, Heather, do you know you're arguing with your comment? Not arguing, excuse me, wrong choice of words. You are commenting to a PhD candidate. I don't know if you know who Tanner Port is. Yeah, yes, obviously, but that statement I think is pretty factual.
And she's got
motivation, bias,
and
sources.
Yeah, she's pretty sharp.
No, I'm messing with her. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if you know who Tanner Port is.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah. I'm just sure she's watching, dude. So usually she's just rolls her eyes at me. Dude, we had a great segue. All this.
Yeah, we have a great segue. That's what I'm saying. We're at the top of it. What asshole are we talking about today? Should I play the video?
Yeah. Roll the video and we'll get into it. See if this works.
Joining us. Turkish forces have launched a military operation against a region held by America's Kurdish allies in northern Syria.
All
All right, so here is our inductee to the Axis of Idiots. His name is Muhammad Al-Jassim. Everybody calls him Abu Amshah, and he is the used car warlord of Afrin. He is the Syrian Turkmen who spent the early years driving tractors in the Hama dirt right up until the point that Turkey gave this genocidal maniac his own militia. And that would be the Sultan Soleimani Shah Division, the Amshah, and these days it flies a new flag as the 62nd Division, and he's their Brigadier General, so he got a 1-star. Now his financial network, we're talking extortion, kidnapping for ransom, straight up just looting, and he's imposed a 30% tax on the olive harvest. And so essentially he reads it or runs it like a warlord, feudal lord. He's rented out his fighters to Libya and Azerbaijan, and the take by the monitor's account is that it runs north of about $30 million a year. All of it gets washed through his used car network, and this used car network has been sanctioned by name by the Treasury Department. Now, who's bankrolling them? That's Ankara, that's Turkey, proper, they act as his sugar daddy and his handler. The intelligence services sign his checks, and then the far right party and the mafia networks keep him protected and vouch for him. And the rap sheet writes itself. He's cleansed the Kurds in Afrin, the Syrian coast. He participated in March of 2025 and killed at least 1,400 Alawites. And while we had humidity last week with the $7 billion gold empire, here we have the used car genocidal maniac of the year. Application approved.
All right, we own.
Yeah, man. So this dude, all right, a perfect parallel to like what you're seeing with the cartels, right? This guy joined really his militia forces. He started fighting in like 2011, right? And so then we see him uptick in 2016. And then in 2018, he participated in the Turkish incursion into Syria. Now, I am triggered by this event, right? Because I was in Iraq when this happened. I was the Task Force Iraq Targo at the time. And I had to watch a lot of this on the feed, right? And just a really frustrating thing to witness, right? Because not one of my favorite POTUS decisions he ever made, letting it happen, right? Because we all kind of knew how it was going to go. And so once it went back, I'll tell y'all something that I think was open source, right? And this goes back to deterrence. We had one ODA team sitting on a hill. It was like, I think it was 6 dudes. And they literally were the only thing holding Turkey back, right? Because Turkey wasn't going to cross the line as long as Americans were there. And when the damn, I gotta be careful here before I get in trouble.
I was gonna say, make sure it's open.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm trying to remember what the news said versus what I was watching because I don't. Sorry, y'all. Like, we
got anything with we got George from Vet Radio Syndicate. Which if you don't follow Vet Radio Syndicate, you need to go follow them. They are a phenomenal fucking page. And he says anything with Turkey and the watermelon seller will end badly.
Yeah. I don't think I can tell that story. I would love to.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So just make up names. There was a National Guard unit from Alabama up there.
Yeah. So there was just a couple dudes, and literally the story basically went and this was open source. Essentially, the majority of CENTCOM found out that we were pulling out of Syria because the SecDev set it on Face the Nation.
And when he resigned. Yeah.
No. He's not. Well, no, that was Mattis had done. Mattis had already resigned by what some of the decisions. This was like he came out and he was like, "Yeah, we're leaving," and then like everybody's like, "Wait, what?" You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
That's why I remember the open source reporting now because there was a lot of protests, and then we had to bomb our own equipment at the concrete factory up there, and there was a lot of reporting on that. And then something weird happened. Like we got like pretty much everybody out, and then all of a sudden, bless his heart, POTUS was like, "Nah, we're gonna go get the oil." So then we had to like go back, like so, and that's when like we had to get all the decrepit stuff that's sitting in Camp Beering, like all the pre-post stocks we have. They just loaded up a bunch of Bradleys. I have to look. I bet a bunch of those got blown up during the Iranian stuff just now. But anyway, so then we send up a bunch of Bradleys.
Tax write-off.
Yeah, there you go. And we hold the oil. I mean, do you know who was happy about that? I bet the mechanics and like the poor, the assholes that have
Honeywell. Honeywell was real happy about that.
Yeah, like you have to sit there and you have to like.
Oh, you need 20 more Bradleys? No problem.
Yeah, no problem, Bram. Like, take them, dude. Please blow these things up. Well, Ukraine could have used them anyway. So, dude,
maybe they went there. We don't know about it. You know?
Yeah, dude, my guys, dude. Yeah, apparently, yeah. That's
we gotta stay on topic. Stay on topic.
Gotta stay on topic. Sorry, yeah, all over the place. But yeah, no. So this dude, back to him, right? He gets picked up, right, and he's commits war crimes, right? He gets sanctioned for that. There's a lot of war crimes that happen. Fun fact, and there's open source reporting on this. Turkey was funding ISIS, y'all. Like our NATO ally is absolutely on record. Like you can go research it. Absolutely funneling money to ISIS to undermine what was going on with Assad for their own interests, right? Like that man has Ottoman Empire dreams just like that. So now, and I know y'all saw a lot of pictures of the Syrian president. Like you need to understand that's a HTS Al-Qaeda member, right?
Yep.
He's been in the White House now. And there's a lot of us, and I know I'm not alone, that we're deeply offended that that dude was allowed to walk into that building. But back to our original point, he controls the terrain, and that's the way the world works, right? And so we can be mad about it. We can be frustrated about it. Is he
acting? Your friends closer and your enemies?
Yeah, sure.
Closer.
Yeah, and dude, they're pumping a lot of drugs out of there now. Like there's all kinds of. We're gonna have a special one just for Syria, but back to our. I promised that I would explain to you how this is controlling. Right, they are putting that guy is there in the northwest side of Syria to keep pressure on the Kurds for Turkey, right? Because Turkey would love nothing more for the Kurds to be off the face of this earth, right? And so makes it interesting when then we were trying to funnel open source reporting today. Actually, you could have seen on TOC MONKEY, we were funneling Israel through Mossad is funneling the weapons that they've taken from Hezbollah and Hamas and pushing them to the Kurds and trying to entice them to engage Iran. Right. I do not anticipate that will happen. Now, will the Kurds aren't dumb, right? They will absolutely take that stuff because then they know they got something to fight with. Do I see the Kurdish?
And the Kurds are hated. They're hated by three fronts.
Yeah, bless their hearts, dude. Like, all they do is like, I had a large set of their mission set with them up there at the Karachoks in northeast of Mosul, and them dudes they were always down, right? Like they take the hard missions, but they don't have a country, right? And yes, while do I think they are more aligned with us strategically and more morally aligned with us than a lot of countries? Absolutely. However, they don't own a border, and so therefore they are just a tool, right?
Pointless.
And you can feel any type of way you want about that. And I know we got a lot of friends in 2P that went SFAB that have worked with these dudes. We got a lot of ODA buddies that have worked with these guys. I've never heard anybody complain overtly about them sucking. You know what I mean? Like they're always.
Yeah, all I'm saying is they were hated by three fronts. I knew that when I was there a long time ago, 20 years ago. They were hated by three fronts.
I mean, dude, ISIS did everything.
Turkey shut the border down in 2006 because we were working with the Kurds and something. I wish we had this show back in 2006. Wish we had, or we had the knowledge back in 2006 of like, why did Turkey shut their border down?
Yeah.
Right. And then that hurt us real bad in our patrol base because we couldn't get resupply from the north. Yep. And like, okay, because of the Turks.
Yeah, there's no love lost there for sure. Yeah. And there is some, just like anywhere, right? There's some factions of the Kurds that use a different set of tactics that are not, that are frowned upon by international law, right? But I usually am pretty empathetic because, again, everybody hates them and they don't have a border, right? And so with that being said, this particular asshole, like Abu Mashah, he gets deputized as a militia leader. He's particularly brutal, right? Very similar to what we saw with our last guy. And then Turkey puts him on the payroll, right? And then he gets rolled into the Syrian army too. So now you have this very weird quagmire where he's literally a one-star general, right? And now he's farming troops out to Libya. Now he's got a mercenary force. So think about him for those guys.
The Turkish Foreign Legion.
Yeah, he's like the Wagner of Turkey. Right. You know, for those guys that understand like Russian, he's very much that, and he's just brutal, man. And his brother's also cited for war crimes, but he's made himself a decent living out there. And now he basically owns a town in Syria. He funnels the money back. Diplomatically, we have not pulled him off the sanction list. So for those guys, we talked last week about indicators. He's one, right? If you see Syria and Turkey press us, like you can see him becoming a variable in this overall discussion about what's going to happen.
That makes sense,
right?
Yeah.
Turkey could absolutely use him and others like him, like his brother, for instance, and the guy that killed the reporter, is one of the ICC's most wanted. If Turkey is able, and y'all look, I said this a couple weeks ago, like you see who Iran's not shooting missiles at. Right, like the one got away, but like for the most part, do not look. I know they're a NATO ally. I can't trust them as far as I can throw them, right? Just because of what I've seen them personally do with my own eyes. But what I would say is that if in these negotiations you start seeing sanctions get lifted on certain Syrian personalities, you can bank that Turkey is putting pressure on the POTUS and our diplomatic efforts. One, to get him more money, and so he can push his border further down, which is what he wants, and put pressure on the Kurds. He will absolutely not respond well to this reporting of Mossad funneling them weapons. Like, expect blowback there. That will isolate Israel further, right? And Turkey will step into that space along with, the UAE kind of in the Saudi side. There's a power play for Turkey here to put pressure on the West to get a conclusion that gets their people free, because if it's part of this overarching kind of peace deal or whatever the hell this shakes out as, they're absolutely going to want these guys to be able to move freely, right? And it's not out of the realm of possibilities that it happened, because ultimately, you got Al Qaeda guys sitting in the Oval Office, right? So the sky's the limit right now. And again, and so he is our axis of the idiots. He is not a good dude. You should keep an eye on him. And more to follow. He'll be one that I'm tracking because, again, I think he's a great indicator.
No, perfect.
No, hey, or shit talking.
No, perfect. Again, I always say, the big Earl always says, who's not as well versed as Tanner is currently. I used to be a what were you getting called that for? An academic on Twitter. Let's call that a douchebag. Where he said that because you got published in some podunk military journal, you're not an academic. And so I asked a real simple question. I go, if getting published and going to school doesn't make you an academic, what does? Like, what is your measure for that? Like, because I want to know, do I have to get published in the Wall Street Journal? Can I not have a stock opinion if I'm not in the Wall Street Journal? Can I not be an academic? All right, so pay attention to what Tanner's saying, and unless you're doing the research that Tanner's doing, like, please don't, by any means, don't shut up, because we love it. But understand that Tanner is an academic, right? I have to get back into it. I used to be one, right? And I got published in one of the highest things ever, which is called the NDAA, which is pretty awesome, right? So, yeah, fancy.
No big deal.
I used to be way back in the day. Way back. But no, I just want to make it clear that follow the money. And what Tanner just said is very important when it comes to whatever deal is getting brokered. All right. What he just brought on with Turkey, and Turkey goes back a long time. Right. And I mean, go back to the Armenian genocide when America started first getting involved with that, and that region, World War One. Right. If you haven't looked at World War One and what that was about, I encourage you to look that up, because we're running out of time. I encourage you to look that up. All right. Turkey's always been, weird. Weird is the best way I can put it. So, go ahead.
Yeah, no, man. The Twitter land, right? So, look, I'm a nobody.
You're only not
Nick is gonna tell you that I got imposter syndrome and everything. But one thing I am confident
You
about,
do.
look,
That's exactly. Gay boy.
there's a huge, and bless his heart, he's a major, or he's a lieutenant colonel now, and he
Infantry
does
dork.
have a knack of getting on my damn nerves. I think it's Dortania, or he was whatever his name is. He works in the PAO shop for the Sec War. He's not a fan of me.
I'll see him on the 22nd then.
Tell him I said hi.
I will.
So Nick, you can pass my challenge to him, right? This is, and I'm being, because there's an anti-intellectualism going on right now in the mill Twitter sphere.
I agree.
Right?
I agree with you. I couldn't stand that. I got on top of that right away. I couldn't stand that shit when I saw that.
There's two sides. In my opinion, there's two types of GWAT veterans now. There's the group that truly believes, and this is a sensitive issue. There's a group of people that believe that the ROE held them back and that their friends died because lawyers stopped them, and that the war college educated people, led us astray. And I'm sure there's a grain in truth in that. And I'm super empathetic to it, because as somebody who has gotten, and I'm being very sincere here, Nick, as somebody who has gotten life and death decisions wrong, right? Like that thinks daily about decisions I made that ended with the loss of American lives, right? Like, I got to live with that. I think it's a punk bitch thing to ever turn around and blame a lawyer for it, right? Because and I sincerely mean that. But I understand the coping mechanism that's at play there. And I do have a lot of sympathy for it. But if you did not read yourself as a leader, I don't care what echelon you were at, if you took the E4 brief in Kuwait or Manis or wherever the fuck you were at, right? And you took that E4 brief that said you can't, whatever that bullshit slide deck they gave you, and you're a leader, and you didn't go back and read the CENTCOM PID policy and understand the left and right limits of what you could and could not do, right? What you could and could not do.
No, I have a story on this. Yeah.
Brother, I was trained by y'all, right? And y'all were surge guys, right? You were surge, like I came in after, right? Y'all were surge guys. And it was beating in my head, right? Like you move to you fucking do something, right? That's what I always tell people. If you did not read the PID policy, if you did not understand the conditions that need to be set for you to go from serial 001 to 0008 or 009 or 0010 or 11 for host nation forces or partner forces or IDPs and movement, don't have this fucking conversation with me. Right? I'm dead ass serious. I am ready, willing, and able, and I will dog walk you in any combined arms maneuver academic thing you want to do. Right? I'm here, bro. MTC 18th Airborne Corps. I can get you in any sim you want. You can call anybody you want that's working around you and ask them, because my name's Tanner Port. I don't operate online under an anonymous figure, and I'm here and waiting. And I'm 2 years retired. Brother, he had me hot because now he's ignoring.
I know he had you hot. I'm glad I got you hot on this because it's good for ring. I need you to put that part right there where you said who you are. Where like I will put you in here, and we're gonna get. We're gonna get this guy in because, like I said, I got a meeting with some people on the 22nd. Bro, I'm gonna go
dog walk, bro.
I'm gonna get him on there. If
you think I'm worried about a lieutenant colonel that was an OC at NTC? Out,
like give a shit, bro.
Trolling me, dude. Like pack a lunch, bro. You gonna need it. All right. Like,
I'll show you. We're showing out of time. Walk you through targeting and like what you're supposed to do.
I see where it came from.
I'll show it. We'll move on, Tanner. We're out of time, and Tanner gonna down a half a bottle, and then Heather gonna be mad at me for getting all fired up. So appreciate all of y'all watching. Appreciate all of y'all watching. Tanner got triggered right there. He did not become a pansy. That's the main thing. It's okay to get triggered. Never become a pansy. That's in the Book of Earl, chapter 1, verse 1. But it is okay to get triggered. And when you trigger Tanner, you trigger me. All right. And so like. I don't always agree with him, and everybody knows that on Facebook. But when I jump on Tanner's side, you're probably wrong. Like you're probably real wrong. So like there's that. Other than that, hey, no show on Saturday. We are doing a comedy show. Heather blames me. I'm sorry, Heather. I'm sorry. All right. Hey, no show on Saturday. We are doing a comedy show here in LA. We got Drew Hernandez, Justin Garber, who's been on the show before, Robin Phoenix Johnson, who I'm really excited to have be a comic, and then the Shaw of Comedy, retired Sergeant Major Tom Campbell coming out. So real pumped to have them, and we're doing it at the American Legion Post in Newhall, 507, and we're giving $10,000 to the Ultimate Sacrifice Foundation to take veterans and first responders and their families on advanced behavioral health retreats, because again, we take care of our brothers and sisters for sure, but families need some help too, and talking. So before I close off, I have to give it to my boy who sat here so professional and quiet. All right. So he's going to promote, tell us what you did with Tribal in a couple, give about a minute. Tell us about Tribal and tell us about Break Glass.
Yeah, Tribal, I funded with my own money. Didn't know anything about producing a movie and ended up partnering with some great directors. And the whole compass of it was I personally lost 9 guys to suicide that were in my platoon. And I wanted to do something about it. So in the military, Tanner knows this, Nick knows this, we call it force multipliers, like taking your voice beyond you being present, right? So I wanted a force multiplier out there. And then I made this documentary that goes through combat, but also tells like the real truth of integrating society after years of war. It doesn't pull any punches. It's not a VA infomercial. It's an award-winning documentary. And that's spawned into other things, like I'm working with Nick right now, which I think is very important, especially seeing like our Vietnam brothers. A lot of their stories are going to the grave with them. Those stories of heroism and what they went through is not happening. So that's why I'm trying to highlight that Samara deployment, which is was a very tumultuous deployment for them, but also it showed what the 80 seconds capabilities of, and that's what we're trying to highlight with Breaking Case of War. Got other things in the pipe in development. This has kind of spawned a new career for me, but something I'm passionate about. I'm sticking to the veteran lane and telling veteran stories authentically in the right way, and couldn't be happier to do it and partner with people like Nick and doing these things like that and working with good brothers. So thank you very much for having me on the show. And
hey, proud of you, brother. That's awesome.
Appreciate you, brother. H minus.
Yeah, H minus. Love you, Tanner. And hey, you go down to about a 7. All right, go down to about a 7. All right. Well, I'll let me throw those punches for you. And Heather, he gonna be riled up tonight. All right, love you guys. We'll see you later.
Y'all be good, man. We'll see y'all next.